Hey guys, what's up? My name is Tommy, and welcome to my first ever long form video on this channel. Today we're going to be talking about Portal and trying to answer the question of, was Portal as good as everyone remembers? So grab yourself a drink, a snack, or your favorite companion cube and join me as we take a deeper look into one of Valve's most fondly remembered titles. To be able to talk about Portal more in depth, we have to understand what it was when it first released. Portal released on October 10th, 2007 as part of the Orange Box, a set of games that Valve had released in order to promote some of their PC games on console. The Orange Box included Half-Life 2 and both its subsequent episodes, as well as Team Fortress 2 and Portal. I said Portal was a tech demo, but what did I mean by that? Well, Valve had acquired a software called Narbacular Drop from a group of college students that were developing their own little video game, and it included the Portal software, or a very early form of the coding for it. What Valve did was purchase this from the group of college students and offer them jobs, hiring them on to be able to help port that technology into the Source engine. Source, of course, being the new engine powering all of their new video games, including Half-Life 2, Portal, Team Fortress 2, and Counter-Strike Source. Source was Valve's in-house engine that was used for the better part of a decade until they came out with their Source 2.0 software. But we're not here to talk about Valve's coding engines and whatnot. We're here to talk about Portal and what it did for the gaming industry. And to ask the question, was it truly a masterpiece of some sort? And was it as good as everybody remembered? Now, of course, one of the things we want to talk about when talking about a Valve game is the physics. Source was their brand new engine and was able to do things that they weren't able to in the first iteration of Half-Life. The destructible environments and the interactivity with the environments and people within them just absolutely eclipsed the first version of Half-Life. But Portal was able to do something that Half-Life also couldn't. Half-Life 2 gave us the gravity gun, yes, but Portal gave us a different version of kind of the same weapon, more so in terms of, okay, it looks like the same gun in the sandbox, of course. We can put screenshots side by side so you guys can see the similarities of the two. But Portal introduced the portal gun to us, allowing us to break third dimension and be able to travel in between spots that we could normally only access through, stacking barrels or barricades and jumping on top of them. Being able to break that third dimensional space and pop in from the ceiling over your objective is a really cool way to solve puzzles. And what are Valve games if not just a shooter with puzzles? Portal turns around the, oh, I'm a shooter with puzzles like games such as Half-Life or Doom or Quake had done in the past, and turns it more into a, hey, I'm a puzzle game with some shooting, which was a very interesting twist on the usual puzzle game or shooter genres. But Valve was able to take that and make that twist a very, very, very unique way for the Portal technology to be introduced. There's no superpowers, there's no kind of cool ring or X-ray goggles or any kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe bullshit within Portal. It's strictly, you're in a science lab, here's a science gun, it shoots portals. One color is this, one color is that. You can go through them in both directions. It's really cool. Valve didn't try to go for any kind of over the top explanation as to how this thing works with magic or some kind of radioactive incident that gave somebody powers. No, it's just a fucking gun that works, and it's really cool. It allows the physics of the Source engine to be demonstrated in a way that other things within the games have not been able to do. So, in a way, Portal was a tech demo, yes. But to us as fans and to everyone who purchased the Orange Box as a younger person when it came out, it was so much more than just a tech demo. Not only did Portal have a great reception from all of the gamers who had purchased the Orange Box, but it was also given a 90 out of 100 on Xbox and PC by Metacritic, as well as an 89 out of 100 on PlayStation 3. GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10, and IGN gave it an 8.2 out of 10. So commercially, a pretty big success. 4 million copies sold of the game between 2007 and 2011, which, granted, a bunch of those were as part of the Orange Box sets. However, on the Steam store, as well as in Xbox 360 and PS3 form, you were able to purchase standalone copies of Portal. So, 4 million copies sold is a pretty good number, and let's just say divide it in half. If only half of them were sold in standalone form, that'd still be 2 million copies. Portal was definitely a commercial success for Valve. They made a lot of money and set themselves up perfectly for a sequel. But why is it that fans wanted a sequel? It couldn't just have been the world building and the physics. Couldn't have just been the cool portal gun and the new technology that we had yet to see from other studios. There had to be something deeper, something that grabbed the player's attention and really dragged them into the world of Portal. But was the world of Portal just the world of Portal? But what did I mean when I said, was it just the world of Portal? Well, to understand that question, we kind of have to dig into the rest of the Orange Box, specifically Half-Life 2, Episode 2. In Half-Life 2, Episode 2, we are introduced to the Borealis, a ship that contains portal technology, apparently that the Combine is interested in. We want to get our hands on it, of course, to keep the Combine from being able to use it against us, but we also want to be able to pair it with Dr. Kleiner's teleportation technology that slingshots us through the Zen dimension. Having both the portal and teleportation technology would aid the resistance in their fight against the Combine. So naturally, that's part of what we are trying to get to. Unfortunately, that was kind of a setup for the story of what was supposed to be Half-Life 2 Episode 3, and it was a canceled project because, of course, we know Papa Gaben is not big on any kind of number 3. So I say all of that to say this. The Borealis was owned by none other than Aperture Sciences, which in the first 1 or 2 levels of Portal, we find out that we're in an Aperture Sciences test lab being tested by unknown entities, we will call them for the time being. All we know is we hear robotic voices, which sound female in the background, instructing us, asking us to go from test chamber to test chamber. Aperture Sciences is testing us, and they're opening portals. So obviously, this is the portal technology that the Combine was looking for that was also on the Borealis. Going throughout the test chambers of the facility, we are introduced to more of the story of the world. We don't really get a whole lot of background on our character or the facility itself, but we do receive those scrawlings on the wall that I mentioned earlier and the different pictures of the companion cube and other pictures of GLaDOS and Aperture Sciences literature pasted to the wall with random scrawlings that seem insane, almost as if another test subject had tried to break out the way that we are trying to break out, and in the process of doing so had gone crazy. We aren't really given much story in even the final boss fight about what GLaDOS is, what Aperture Sciences building was made for, what the tests were for, and what the portal technology was originally developed for. But we are given one voice line of dialogue that haunts me every time that I hear it. GLaDOS delivers a line of dialogue in the boss fight that says, "All I know is I'm the only thing standing between us and them." Now, within the community, of course, everyone believes the word them is referring to the Combine. I personally also believe this theory because why else would they include Portal in this connection in the Orange Box with the complete Half-Life 2 story thus far? But even deeper than that, I just think it's really cool that they included this line of dialogue because it alludes to the fact that the Combine have not yet attacked Earth, meaning that Gordon Freeman necessarily hadn't set off the resonance cascade at Black Mesa yet, causing the event that causes the Combine to invade Earth. So, at the moment that we're playing through Portal as Shell in the Aperture Sciences facility, Gordon Freeman is either not yet at Black Mesa or is right around the same time frame, which I just found to be really interesting. And the inclusion of the Borealis as well in Half-Life 2 episode 2 just really, really was cool as a connection between the two worlds. I think a lot of people now, myself included, are just kind of tired of the oversaturated cinematic universe, Marvel bullshit that they do. Um, Personally, that's why I had to quit playing Call of Duty and Fortnite. I got sick of loading into a lobby of a game and just having everybody in some dumbass skin that makes no sense, like Beavis and Butthead, or a team of Peter Griffin, Godzilla, Spider Man, and Master Chief dogging on me and my brother Josh in Fortnite. It just really made it to the point of not being fun. So to go back and play a game that's not got all this over the top garbage and over the top cinematic universe connection between its two different titles of its game series, Valve, I think, did a great job doing that. Looking back on it, 2007 being before the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, it's just a refreshing thing to go back and look and say, oh, wow, look what they used to do before Marvel had infected the media. So I just like the subtle head nod of that line of dialogue from GLaDOS, and then also the subtle head nod of the Borealis included in Half Life 2, Episode 2. But beyond its cool story connections to Half Life, we have to also look at the Portal gameplay. Portal's gameplay was super unique and absolutely something that was just a game changing, for lack of a better way to say it, game changing type of gameplay in the industry at the time. The only real kind of, I guess, knockoff you could say that we've seen in that regard has been Splitgate with their technology they released a few years ago. But digging deeper into it, we kind of need to look at the gameplay of Portal. Portal's gameplay is phenomenal. It makes a great use of all the physics of the source engine that we had talked about earlier, such as the three-dimensional wall breaks and then all of the interactable and destructible objects in its environment. But even beyond that kind of physics in the gameplay, what makes Portal so fun? Well, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that they included in the game that were really cool. The puzzles were fun to solve because not all of them were necessarily deadly, but just some of them being more skill based. Could you jump through a portal at the right time to make it to the next jump and do it over and over? Not all of them included turrets or death traps. A lot of them just really included, hey, are you skillful enough to pull off kind of a trick shot? And the bee hopping in the game was very fun. It made it a very fun thing to do. Jumping off of one tall surface down into a portal and another, and just kind of looping yourself until you can accelerate and speed up through a portal loop and shoot yourself across the room was extremely entertaining. The basics of the physics of the engine were part of what made it so fun, but the concept as well. I remember a few years ago, I think it was 2021, when this game called Splitgate came out. And me and a bunch of my fraternity brothers were hanging out at the house playing this game. And it was what we could only describe as a combination of Portal and Halo. So Portal became a game that, like Halo, was so good and so unique that it kind of created its own genre of game. Like there were no other Portal technology type of games before that. Part of that being through the software that Valve had acquired from the college students, but also just the fact that video games in the early 2000s were still kind of in their infancy. Not even 10 years before was when they had released Half-Life. And Half-Life was deemed to be one of the, if not the most game-changing video game releases of the FPS genre until Halo came out. But before that, we had Quake and Doom. Valve pretty much modified the Doom engine into what they could use for Half-Life, but no one had ever thought about putting a story in a game. Portal doubles down on Valve's dedication to making sure the gamer gets what they want. While there isn't a whole lot of story and the gameplay isn't very long, I mean, I finished the whole game in about 4 hours this morning. Portal does give us enough fun throughout the challenges of the test that you could get gamers to want a sequel. A lot of us played it for the first time when it came out or a couple years after and said, wow, I would really like to play this with my friends. That was one of the major changes they included in Portal 2, which I will be playing and recording a video about soon, so stay tuned. But Portal just gave us a new type of game, something that no one had experienced before. Kind of like how Gears of War was one of the very first third-person cover-based action shooters, or how Fallout was one of the first role-playing games based in a post-nuclear kind of apocalypse. Portal gave us a new video game that none of us had experienced before and a new type of technology that allowed for us to just do crazy things. Taking Portal and pairing it with Gmod or Gary's Mod and just being able to kind of mess around and do whatever you want was one of the things that made Portal so popular. Modding on a computer, being able to play it, being able to screw around. When they released Portal 2 and having two people play or having Atlas and Peabody together, it was just built to be a fun video game. Besides just being fun, the world I played in Portal also just had the ability to keep me grounded and my attention grabbed. Like for me personally, I like video games that put me into the immersion of the game. I want to feel like that's what I'm doing. Part of the reason I game from a TV and an Xbox still to this day is the fact that I feel so wrapped into the world that I kind of forget everything around me and I'm just focused into what I'm playing. If the game is good enough to do that. If the game's not a very fun game, campaign evolved. Oh man, got sick there for a second. If the game's not fun, Halo Studios, I'm not going to sit there and play it for a long time. I haven't been able to sit down and play 4 straight hours of video games in a long, long time. But being able to sit down and just play Portal in one go without even having to get up and get something to drink or use the restroom, I was grabbed by the game. I started playing at like 7:50 in the morning, looked down, I was like, "Oh my god, it's 11:45. I just finished the game." And it was crazy. It just being able to grab my attention and just wrap me up and go, "Oh my god, I have to see what happens next." Okay, that was test chamber 14. What is test chamber 15 going to throw at me? I just could not put it down. It was the puzzles, it was the kind of clinical looking environment, the taunting from GLaDOS, the being able to solve problems either the way the game developers intended or kind of cheese through them and just do stupid things to see if it works. It was fun. I caught myself oftentimes knowing what the solution to a puzzle was, but going, I don't know, maybe this will work, and saving the game and creating a save file just so I could do something stupid, jump off of a cliff, and see if I could jump into a portal. Most of the solving the test chambers from like test chamber 4 or 5, whenever I got the orange portal, until the end of the game when I was fighting GLaDOS was just me screwing around, having as much fun as possible because it was just really cool to jump off a cliff into a portal and sling shot myself at 100,000 miles an hour across a room into a wall and not even take damage from it because of whatever leg implants they have on there. Basically, high heel crowbars is what it looks like. It was a fun game. I just absolutely could not put it down. If you haven't played Portal, I would recommend going out and playing it. If you've got Xbox, it's on Xbox Game Pass or on the Xbox Store. If you have Steam, it's on the Steam Store. I don't know much about PlayStation, so it might be on the PlayStation Store in the orange box. Don't know how they do old games and digitally or whatnot, but if you have a PC or an Xbox and you can play this game, I would play this game. 100%. I don't know why I didn't play it until recently. I've had the orange box in a box in my TV console for like 14 years since my uncle Kevin gave it to me. And I literally have never played it. I played like one match of TF2. I played a little bit of one of the Half-Life games and killed an antlion and got scared at like 9 years old and turned it off. And somewhere about a month ago, I just felt like playing Half-Life 2 because I watched a video on YouTube and was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Let me see what it's like. It's been fun. That one's coming soon as well. But I have had a lot of fun digging through the orange box. I decided on Portal today just plainly because I heard it was a short game. Googled the playtime, said I might be able to do that, and I couldn't stop. I had to finish it. I haven't had that much fun playing a game in years. 100% recommend playing Portal. So, where does that leave us? Well, our question in the beginning was Portal as good as everyone remembered? Personally, I would say hell yes. Absolutely, Portal is as good as everybody remembered. Portal was given grand scores on every single gaming review website and magazine at the time of its release, and for good reason. Not only was it a game that was visually appealing because Source was a really, really good graphical engine, but also just being able to play that game and have so much fun in a different type of world and just go, well, you know what? I'm going to try this other game, Half-Life, and boot into another. I personally think what made Portal so successful and as, quote, good as everybody remembered it was being shelved with Half-Life 2. But the only reason it was able to be shelved with Half-Life 2 is because it was developed by Valve, and Valve only drops bangers. Nothing we get from Valve is ever shit. So we knew from the start Portal was going to be a pretty good game. But I don't think anybody was prepared, not even Gaben himself, for how massively successful Portal was going to be. I personally cannot wait to play Portal 2, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for sticking around with me. If you have stuck around this far, if you would, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe if you feel like it. Leave a comment if you want to discuss Portal or, make a suggestion for any other games you'd like me to play. I apologize for the video quality. It's not the best, but I'm broke, so.